And you know, I wouldn't have known about this at all if it was not for the fact of an NDE which I had. I had an out-of-the-world experience. When my father passed away, it gripped on me so hard that I also was part of that death. And 3 angels appeared to me, and the 3 angels gave me a solution to the mystery of life. They told me something very interesting. They said that if I could put the yin and the yang together and go through in between the yin and yang, all my prayers would be answered. That was the message that was given to me 30 years ago. I didn't know what it meant at the time, but I went on a search to understand what it's all about. The secret had given me the mystery. And that's why I know that the Torah is true. Because the Torah blends exactly to the message that was given to me by the angel. That the way to life is to stretch out my hand in between the yin and yang and to lay hold of the tree of life. And what is the tree of life? It is my soul. It is me. To record this video, see, we basically live in a 2D world. Because everything that we see with our eyes. And the effect of it is, of course, a 2D world. And how to make it 3D? That's a very important question. All of us feel that we are actually in a 3D world. That's true, because you know what? We use our legs to walk. And we notice a time that is moving before us. And that sensation gives us the idea that we are part of a 3D world. We are part of a true and real universe. But the point is that in our mind, it is not 3D. In our mind, it is 2D. That's the point. Trying to stress. It's a real confusion. And everyone in this world is overtaken by that confusion. And why? Because the thoughts that we are having, they're all 2D. That is why. And the 3D world that we think that we are in, which is real, is 3D, but we are imagining it in our mind. In our mind, it's 2D because our thoughts is 2D. Physically, this is a 3D world. Okay, physically, it's completely true. But our mind is not grasping it as a reality. Our mind is grasping it as an image in a 2D world. And our understanding of a 3D physicality is only an imagination we create in our mind. It is not a real experience. Because in our mind, it is all 2D. Every day our experience in this world is via our mind. Isn't that right? And also via our emotions, right? Yes. But it is basically 2D. That's right. But we need to make it 3D so that it becomes a reality in experience and not a reality only in our imagination. As human beings, we are only endowed with a mind and an emotion. And therefore, there's no way in which we could experience this world 3D, since our mind sees the world 2D. So, how do we do it? Solution is actually found in the Torah, in a very mystical story. That's right. You see, when Adam and Eve felt naked and covered themselves, and God covered them with a lamb skin, they lost their connection with the soul. They lost connection with themselves. And as a result of that loss of their connection with the inward part of them, they lost a 3D world, and they only saw a 2D world. And because of that, they had to go out of the Garden of Eden. Because the Garden of Eden is a 3D world, so they couldn't find themselves living there. So they had to go out of the 3D world. But then how do we enter back into the Garden of Eden and experience a 3D world? The Torah is wonderful in its mystical story. It says that the man has to go into the gates, and the gates are guarded by 2 cherubims with 2 swords. That's right, the yin and the yang. So in order to enter, you got to go in between the 2 swords, and you got to go into the Garden of Eden. But you see, the tree of life is inside the Garden of Eden. How do you go in and take the tree of life? The Bible says, the Torah says, that the tree of life is actually inside the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Inside. You don't know that because you don't read Hebrew. You just read English. Okay. But in Hebrew, we are told that the tree of life is actually within the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. In order to get to the tree of life, we have to stretch our hand in between the good and the evil, so that we can lay hold of the tree of life. So that's the secret. Once we lay hold of the tree of life, which is actually laying hold of the soul, which is actually laying hold of me, which I hide myself in my clothes. That's right, I kept hiding myself. But now I have to remove my clothes, and I have to stretch out my hand in my nakedness, in between good and evil, so that I could lay hold of the tree of life. And the Torah says that the tree of good and evil is actually the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. What is knowledge? Ideas and thoughts. You are thinking it is good and you are thinking it is evil, but it's none of that. But anyway, you got to stretch your hand in between these ideas, between these thoughts. And in between, you stretch out your hand to lay hold of the tree of life, to lay hold of the soul. The soul you have lost because you cover up yourself, because you felt so naked you couldn't accept your nakedness, so you took a clothes to cover yourself. That was the error of resistance. Today, you can say you have sinned against God, but actually you sinned against yourself, because I'm God. So you sinned against yourself. Why? Because you hate yourself. You deny yourself of the communion of being with yourself. You cover up yourself with clothes. So you hate yourself. That's what I'm trying to say. So now you have to be naked. That's right. And go in between the thoughts. That's right. In between your ideas of good and evil. That's right. In between your ideas of who you think you are. That's right. In between the ideas of whether you are a good man or a bad man, it doesn't make a difference. It's just that you have to commune with yourself in your nakedness. I'm not talking about sex here, please. Yeah. But you have to commune yourself so that you can discover being. And this is the tree of life. Okay? The Torah has given you the secret. But instead of reading the Torah as it is, using Hebrew, you went to look at all the English version of the Bible. And what do you find? You get to worship not the God of Israel, but the God of what you create in your mind. Notice that I stress what you create in your mind. That's correct. Because what is in your mind is the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. But you have to go in between. That's the point. You have to go in between the good and evil. That's the secret where you can stretch out your hand to discover me. And you know, I wouldn't have known about this at all if it was not for the fact of an NDE which I had. I had an out-of-the-world experience. When my father passed away, it gripped on me so hard that I also was part of that death. And 3 angels appeared to me, and the 3 angels gave me a solution to the mystery of life. They told me something very interesting. They said that if I could put the yin and the yang together and go through in between the yin and yang, all my prayers would be answered. That was the message that was given to me 30 years ago. I didn't know what it meant at the time, but I went on a search to understand what it's all about. The secret had given me the mystery. And that's why I know that the Torah is true. Because the Torah blends exactly to the message that was given to me by the angel. That the way to life is to stretch out my hand in between the yin and yang and to lay hold of the tree of life. And what is the tree of life? It is my soul. It is me. But today, I know the secret. I know how to do it, how to get my hand, stretch it out, and lay hold of the tree of life and eat it. How do I do that? You see, I realize that our mind, as I said earlier in this video, is tossed. It's a 2D toss. So being a 2D, I could never stretch out my hand there because it's just a 2D. I have to make it 3D. The ideas of good and evil, they are all 2D. That's right. Everything you learn, whether it's from the Bible or from the Torah, is all 2D. You understand it with your mind. You might have a lot of Bible studies. You might do a lot of worship, but it makes no difference. Because all those worships that you're having is still a 2D lifestyle. Why? Because everything you are understanding of this world, everything that you know of your own experience is a taught experience. So even when you go to church, it's a taught experience. Even when you worship in a monastery, it's a taught experience. So how do you make it real? How do we make this taught experience into a 3D experience? I use what the angels told me. I use what the Torah tells me. And I also use what the science tells me. And that is I have to shine a light onto a wave. And the wave will become a particle. That's it. I got to shine a light. What is the light? The light is within me, is a true observer. And when I shine the light from the true observer to the 2D world, to my thoughts, then and there, the 2D thoughts become, together with my observation, become breath, become 3D. In previous videos, I mentioned that in a 2D world, what you're seeing is east to west, north to south, but you're not seeing the inwardness towards your own self. To see the inwardness, you have to wash the thoughts. Because when you wash the thoughts, there is an inward stretching out to the thoughts. So this watching from the true observer is actually the third direction. It is the inward to the outward. and the outward to the inward. The 2D dimension suddenly becomes 3D because I provided the inward and outward direction, which is my observation of my 2D thoughts. And when I'm asking you right now, you need to observe your thoughts. You'll be asking me, how to observe my thoughts? I'm thinking, right? How do I observe my thinking? That's where you go to practice very hard. Who says it's going to be easy? First started doing it, my friends were telling me, it's impossible. Those who were meditating with me, they were talking to me and they were saying, it's impossible. I tried it, they said, but I couldn't do it. I agree with that. How do you think and observe your own thinking? But I tried. I don't know why, but I tried. The angels told me to do it, so I did it. I tried for 10 years. And then one day, just one day, a miracle began to happen. As I observed the thoughts from my true observer, suddenly the thoughts turned into breath. And my true observer itself is also part of that breath. Wow. For the first time in my life, I experienced me like it never happened before. And when I compare that me with the everyday experience that I had, I realized that the everyday experience that I had, the me, isn't the true me, something else altogether. I wish I could tell you. Follow my videos. Someday, somehow, you may get to know what it's all about.